Okay, so hello ESL 20, ESL 29. Welcome back to another day of speaking and listening. I'm so excited for you guys to be watching this video. Last week or last class or yesterday, whenever you watched my other video, we really did a deep dive into word stress. Remember, word stress is when we focus on the individual syllables within a word to make sure that we are pronouncing the word correctly. Now, remember, there are lots and lots of different kinds of accents within the English language. So, just because something might be stressed a little bit differently from language to language or culture to culture doesn't mean it's necessarily wrong at all. Okay, we're working on being able to be understood. But of course, everything that I'm teaching you is coming from my own experience being an American English speaker. So, just to give you guys a little food for thought, which is an idiom, which means just something to think about. So today we're going to review the work that you did for your word stress worksheet, and then we're going to talk a little bit about intonation. Afterwards, we're going to go through the project for directions and also your voice journal. Okay, so let's see if I can share my screen with you guys. All right. Perfect. This is getting better and better each video, huh? So here we are. Nope, it's not. I'm on my the last slide again. So bear with me. This is what happened last time as well. All right. There we go. Here we are on slide 1. So welcome. Today we're going to do a little bit of a warm-up, review word stress, review your homework, do a mini intonation lesson, and then talk about project 4. So this is my warm-up question that I would pose to you guys if we were in class today together. Instead, we're just going to do another one of our pause the videos and think out loud kind of response. So this question is, what is happening in the communities you are involved in with right now? Or you could just say, what is happening in the communities you are involved in right now? Yeah, let's change that. That's a little bit less wordy. Okay. So for me, I actually feel very grateful because my family and I, I think as you guys know, my 2 brothers, my sister, and my parents and I all live in different states. And actually, we all live in different time zones, which is pretty crazy. So I'm over here on the West Coast in Pacific time. My sister is in Colorado in Mountain Time. My brother is in Chicago on Central Time. And my parents and my little brother are on the East Coast in Eastern Standard Time. So it's not too often that we all get to connect. Because of everything that's been going on, we've actually been able to do a group FaceTime every Sunday, which is pretty great and something that we should have done earlier. So my family is definitely a community that I'm involved in, and that's something that's been going on with my community. Also, another community I'm involved in is the local yoga studio called Pilgrimage of the Heart Yoga. And they've started doing online yoga sessions, which is pretty awesome. Not exactly the same as being in class, but it's still pretty cool. So that's what's been happening with the communities that I'm involved in. Please take a second to pause the video and think out loud about what's been going on in the communities that you're involved in. Okay, so hopefully you took about 2 to 3 to 4 to 5 minutes to talk to yourself out loud. I know that seems silly, but this is important. And I'm looking forward to hearing about your responses in your voice journals. So last week, I keep saying that, last class, we learned a lot about word stress, and there were a ton of different rules. Just as a reminder, I do not expect you to remember or even try to utilize all of these rules. This is to give you the context of why we emphasize certain parts of a word. It's also to help you sound out words that you might not know while reading, or in any of your other classes. So don't worry about trying to figure out the rules while you're speaking. That would be very difficult. But this is just to help us practice and help us provide the context. So what were these rules? I know this is a lot of information. Let me move my little box. All right, so rule number 1, as we know with nouns and adjectives with 2 syllables, the stress is on the last syllable. Okay, so we talked about some exceptions like hotel, but for example, project is stressed on the beginning. Rule number 2, with verbs and prepositions with 2 syllables, the stress is on the second syllable. You guys, what is happening here? Hold on. It's on the last syllable. I think my brain is going crazy. Okay, sorry about that. So the stress is on the last syllable. So for rule number 1, it's project, and for rule number 2, it's project. Now that's really, really useful information between nouns and verbs. Sometimes our nouns and verbs, they sound or they look exactly the same, so we can't figure out how to pronounce them correctly. With these rules, we can remind ourselves, okay, with nouns, it's the first syllable, with verbs, it's the second. For rule number 3, with words that end in things that sound like shun, we stress the second to last syllable, like education, okay? Rule number 4, with words that end with ick, the stress is also on the second to last syllable, economic. With words that end with e or oo, like employee, our stress is on the last syllable. With words that end with er or ly, the stress is on the first one, like orderly, critically. For rule number 7, with words that end with cy, ty, phy, gy, and a really crazy al, the stress is on the third to last syllable, like photography. Last 2 rules. Rule number 8, for compound nouns, the stress is on the first word, football. For compound adjectives, the stress is on the second word, okay? So we use that like old-fashioned, right? So old-fashioned. And up here on the top left-hand corner, you'll see that I have our trusty website, howmanysyllables.com, that can help us work through some of these. So if you have a question with how to pronounce something, of course you can use Learner's Dictionary or something like that, but it doesn't really break down the syllables. I guess it kind of does with the phonemic chart symbols, but this is just another really useful website for you guys to use. Okay. So for your, I call it your homework, but your activity check, you're not going to check it with your friends, but hopefully you were able to check it with, check your word stress worksheet, because I put the answers at the bottom. So again, if you're kind of confused about what we are talking about, on your Canvas website, you have a word stress worksheet that looks like this. There we go. So it starts with conclusion. Okay, so you had to identify which part of the word was stressed, and then you had to match it with the rule. So I don't know if you know this, but all the answers, oh, did I not change this? I think the one on yours I did change. There we go. So with the rule, the answers here are on the bottom. I'll make sure that was changed for the one that is on Canvas for us. So all of them are right here. But let's go back to our our PowerPoint, because they're on there as well. Great. So here are all of the pronunciations. We say pretty, and actually we don't say pre, right? So we say pretty, emergency, geography, shampoo, quieter, athletic, magician, attraction, object, object, photogenic, interviewee, bathroom, intentional. So just double check your work, pause this here if you need to, and the answers are here, but the answers are also at the bottom of the worksheet on Canvas. So pause this if you need to. Okay, so how can we connect word stress to intonation? So remember on the last video, I told you guys how word stress is really emphasized with the syllables, right? How many syllables are in each word. But intonation is how we pronounce the word in a sentence, which is pretty cool, right? Our intonation tells us a lot of different things, like emotion. I know that for me, I've gotten in trouble texting my friends a few times because I could text something that I think is funny, and I'm coming from a place of humor, but they are reading it literally. I don't know if you guys have experienced that. And that's why we have to say LOL or haha or winky face and to show our emotion behind what we're saying. Because if you can't hear what somebody is saying, signals can get crossed and there can be some confusion. And that's why intonation is so important. Intonation shows us what's important in a sentence, what we want the listener to be emphasizing, we want the listener to be paying attention to. So just to recap, word stress is focused on the individual syllables within a word. Intonation is focused on the stress of the word in a sentence. So for us in the United States, nouns carry the most stress because for us in our grammar, nouns are or pronouns are our subjects and our objects. Now, unless we are focusing on the action, then we would stress the verb. So let's look at this. Dogs eat bones. We have dogs and we have bones, and they are the same kind of stress. Eat kind of goes down. So it's like dog eats bone. Sorry, dogs eat bones. And so we're stressing those nouns very similarly. After the nouns have been introduced or if they've been repeated and stuff, that's when we start getting the verbs involved. Yes, they eat them. Think about a conversation. Dogs eat bones. Really? They do? Yes, they eat them, right? So we're emphasizing the part that we want the listener to completely understand. Now here's a slide that can help with presentations or with your voice journals. And so let's go through. So for a statement, we let the tone fall at the end of a sentence. Dogs eat bones. We don't go up, right? It just kind of peters off at the end. Do, do. When we're talking about the first half and then the second half, the first half of the sentence usually sets up the second half. And you can see that there's a pattern here. Again, the stress is on the nouns. Dogs eat bones, but cats eat fish. Okay, so we have that stress on the nouns. For the introduction phrase, whenever you're speaking, I know that in your writing, you're familiar with introduction phrases, but we also use these in speaking. We don't really emphasize that unless we are really trying to make our point across. So here we say, as we all know, dogs eat bones. Unless you wanted to say, as we all know, dogs eat bones. And then what you're trying to convey to the listener is like, hey, we all know this. Why don't you know this? Right? So we say, as we all know, dogs eat bones, period. When you're listing, you also use the same kind of intonation for the nouns. So it says, with more than one item in a list, all but the last one have a rising tone. So dogs eat bones, kibbles, and meat. So you say, dogs eat bones, kibble, and meat. For questions, as you guys know, we have to put the emphasis at the end. Do dogs eat bones? And it goes up. For us who are still working on our grammar, this is actually how we get our questions across if we don't know how to grammatically form questions. So many students of mine have used statements, but with the rising intonation at the end, we know that they are questions. So for example, I have to do this homework is a statement, right? I have to do this homework. But since it goes up at the end, I know that that's a question. So I could say, yes, you do have to do that homework. We really should have said, do I need to do this homework? But if we're still getting used to our grammar and we're still getting used to forming questions in grammar, a lot of times we can hear people put a rising intonation at the end for us to realize that it's the question. Yep, a repeated question or rhetorical question goes up and then up again at the end. Do dogs eat bones? You can see dogs eat bones. Yeah, so we don't need to talk too much about repeated or rhetorical questions. Let's just more focus on the intonation within sentences with our nouns, with our rising intonation at the end of, for questions, and our falling intonation at the end for statements. Okay? So, if a person consistently stresses contrast words as opposed to new information words, he can end up sounding permanently argumentative. Now, I have also had a lot of students who are not trying to argue, but the way that they use intonation makes them seem like they're arguing. Bob studies English. Okay, but if you say Bob studies English, but he doesn't use it, it sounds like you're arguing. Doesn't, okay, I'm going to do this again. Bob studies English. Okay, neutral. Bob studies English, but he doesn't use it. Yeah, that's sounding like you have an attitude, right? You're sitting here and you have something to prove, which is fine if you are in an argument or a debate, but it's not okay if we're just trying to be neutral. And same with down here. I said it is good. That sounds like I said it is good. So why are you saying something different? So we don't want to emphasize our pronouns all the time. We just say, I said it was good. And we want to make sure that that's kind of neutral. And then down here, additionally, mixed messages occur when modals or verbs of perception are stressed. You could end up with the opposite meaning. People should exercise more. That means that you're giving it shows that you're giving a recommendation. Hold on for 1 second. Or they would help us if it looks like Chanel, he seems like a nice guy. Again, we just want to be a little bit careful with emphasizing our modals because we want to make sure that we're coming across as neutral and not argumentative unless you are trying to be argumentative. So again, we're stressing the nouns equally. We are not stressing the contrast words or new words unless we are trying to get our point across that that is what we want to be focusing on. Okay, I love this exercise. So what I want you to do is I want you to pause the video and see all the words that are in bold. For the first statement, it is I. The second statement, it is didn't. So what I want you to do is pause the video and read through all 7 statements, but emphasize the bolded words. How does that change the statements? Okay, go for it. Okay, so now that you've read through the statements, I'm going to do the same thing. So, statement 1, I didn't say he stole the money. Statement 2, I didn't say he stole the money. Statement 3, I didn't say he stole the money. Statement 4, I didn't say he stole the, or statement 4, I didn't say he stole the money. Statement 5, I didn't say he stole the money. Statement 6, I didn't say he stole the money. Statement 7, I didn't say he stole the money. Okay, so how are these different? So for number 1, since we emphasize the I, it means someone else said it. I didn't say he stole the money, but maybe she did. I didn't say he stole the money means that's not true. I didn't say it. Number 3 means that he didn't say he stole the money. He could maybe suggested it. I didn't say he did it. I just said maybe he did it, and so on and so forth. I didn't say he did it. Someone else did. I didn't say he stole it. He might have borrowed it. I didn't say he stole the money. He stole some other money, and I didn't say he stole the money. He may have taken something else. So see how important intonation is. It leads your listener to infer, which means draw conclusions from what you are emphasizing. And that's why this is so important, because your messages could be grammatically correct, but how you are emphasizing the words completely can change the tone or the intonation the inference behind what you're saying. Okay, so this is why it's important. Okay, so thinking about pronunciation, word stress, and intonation, we're going to now talk about your voice journal 4, which you may have done already, but we're going to talk about it again. And then we're also going to talk about project 4. Okay. All right. So I am going to go on Canvas. And I'm going to click into our voice journal 4. So we're here, we're on community involvement, voice journal 4, click into this. So it says, for this voice journal, please talk about your involvement with the community you live in here in California. Remember, community can mean different things: school, jobs, friends, religious community. Additionally, please compare and contrast this to your community involvement back home. To help you, please consider some of these questions. What types of communities are you currently involved in? Are you more involved in the communities in the United States, or were you more involved in the communities back in your home country? And if you want to be more involved in the community, what are some ideas of how you can get more involved? Now, remember, these are just suggestions. If you would prefer to talk about what's going on right now and your involvement at the moment, you can for sure talk about that. Remember, all of my voice journal prompts are just prompts. They're not requirements. As long as you're talking about community involvement in some way, that's totally fine with me. Remember that each voice journal needs to be 5 minutes, okay? So get yourself to that 5-minute mark so you can get the full 50 points. Okay, let's talk about your project number 4, because I've had to change it. So we are on Canvas. We have group 4. Group 4. Project 4 small group presentations. So we have the project 4 direction document right here, and then we have the project 4 self-assessment. So I already have those documents open, so let's take a look at that. So let's look at the directions first. This is my family for kayaking. Okay. So I've had to completely revise this project because usually it's an in-class small group project, and it has to, and you students previously have had to go out into the community and participate in some way. So obviously we had to change that. So let's go through this. For this project, you will be asked to record yourself speaking for 10 minutes. Remember, your voice journals are 5 minutes. This has to be 10. Okay, so you can show us photos of, you can show us photos, you can show us examples, you can just talk to us, talk to us, talk to us. Okay, so create an outline for yourself maybe before you start recording so you can hit that 10-minute mark. So there are 2 options here. So option 1, please tell us about a community event that you participated in or went to where you were able to practice your English. This can be something like a concert, a farmer's market, a play, a party, anything. So in the past, students have talked about parties. So this could be any sort of party that you went to, like a neighbor party, a dinner party, where you were practicing your English. Other students have talked about going to farmers markets and doing things on campus. Yep, anything that has to do with where it's a community, which means more than 2 people, I want to say, and you were able to practice your English. Or please tell us about how you are staying involved in a community or communities throughout this pandemic. Please share specific ways you're practicing your English through this. So if you are involved in any sort of communities that you are continuing to be involved in, but you are practicing your English, you can also talk about that. This could be a class community, but let's talk about a different class than this one, if possible. If this is your only class, then let me know if you want to talk about that. But I would like to talk about something other than this class. So yeah, those are our 2 options. So talk about a community event you've gone to in the past where you've used your English, or tell us about how you're staying involved in the community now using your English. So for recording or posting, what you're going to do is you are going to go to Canvas. And you are going to go to discussions. We're going to click in. Hopefully everybody sees their name right here. There are 4 groups. Please find your name. If your name is not here for some reason because my brain is going crazy, just let me know and I'll add you. So let's click into this group. So let's say that I am Brianna. I'm going to click in and I'm going to read the directions. So please read the directions document on Canvas. Great, we're doing that. Please use the studio button to record yourself speaking. Now you might look here and go, wow, I can't see a studio button, but you actually have to press reply first. Now this brings up a big toolbar, and the studio button is this blue one. If you scroll over it without clicking, it says studio. So if you click in, it will bring up an option for you where you can either, these are my videos, where you can record yourself or you can add a video. So if you'd like to just record yourself, please go ahead and do that. If you want to record yourself separately and add a video, you just do that here. So you record or you add and you press upload, and then it will pop up here. Once your friends, so if I'm Brianna, once Christopher, Mario, and Roya have uploaded their videos, I'm going to watch them, and then I'm going to respond to them using the studio option again, okay? So we're going to have like a group discussion going in our discussions part of Canvas. I hope everybody's following this. Let's go back to the directions. So go to Canvas discussions, you'll find your name, click into your groups, press reply. Once you press reply, press studio, and then upload a video or record yourself. Once your friends have posted their video, please watch them and reply using the studio button again. Your replies can be anywhere between 2 and 5 minutes long. And this project will be a self-assessed project, which means that you will have to give yourself a grade. And this can be harder than it actually seems. But no matter what grade you give yourself, I will honor that, which means if you give yourself 100%, I will also give you 100%. But you need to support your grade with feedback. So let's go into the self-assessment. This document is also on Canvas. Okay, so what you're going to do is you're going to assess yourself using a 3, 2, or a 1, and you're going to just, the first one, did you explain your community involvement experience clearly? If you think you did, you can just highlight this, and then you're going to explain. I gave myself a 3 because da 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 da, and you're going to explain for all of them, okay? Once you are done, you're going to email me this document. I'm going to review it, and then I will put whatever grade you gave yourself into Canvas. If you believe that you deserve it 100%, tell me, absolutely, okay? And if you think that you need to continue to improve, of course, everybody needs to continue to improve, right? So I'm not looking for something that's absolutely perfect. I'm looking for something that is level appropriate that you think has met the standards for this project, okay? All right. So I hope you guys have had a great lesson today. Yeah, I miss you guys, but I'm super happy that we're continuing this class. We are in the 21st century, so we're able to do classes online like this, and I cannot wait to see your project force. All right, you guys, thank you so much. Have a wonderful rest of your day, and yeah, I'll look forward to receiving the feedback that you give yourself. See you later.